we're going to talk about interquartile range. The interquartile range is a measure of spread, so it looks to see how far spread out something is. To find it, what it is it's the difference between the third quartile and the first quartile. Now, what does difference mean? Difference is subtract, right? So that kind of gives us a clue of what we're talking about here. So interquartile range can be abbreviated because I don't know about you, but I'm not writing that whole thing out all the time. And we can abbreviate that as IQR. The IQR represents the range of the middle half of the data. So we're going to take like the middle part of the data and find the difference between that. So if you have a small interquartile range, that means the data is close together because it's not far spread apart. If it's large, that means that it's spread apart. So what am I talking about? Well, let's talk about the steps to do this. When I tell you these steps, you're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. So just bear with me. Okay, so let's just fill this in real quick. Okay, this isn't going to make sense yet, but don't worry. We will go through it and it will make sense. So first you find the median in the entire data set. This is the quartile 2. We don't actually ever call it quartile 2. We're going to still call it the median. But there's 4 quartiles. That would be the middle. So you find the median of the data, right? After that, you're going to find the median of the first half of the data, or they can call it lower half. This is Q1, quartile 1. Then you're going to find the median of the second, which is the upper half of the data. That's quartile 3. Then you subtract quartile 1 from quartile 3. Make sense? No, of course not. It's one of those things you have to do. So let's actually go through and do it, and it will make a lot more sense. Now, the first thing you have to do when finding median or anything is to put it in order from least to greatest. Now, they're nice, and they already put this one in order for you from least to greatest. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of like, I'm not going to actually cross it out because I need to be able to see it. But I cross one out, cross one out, cross one out, cross one out. I'm left with one middle number. That is 15. So that's my median. So what I'm going to do now, so that's my median. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the other half of the data. That's split it into 2. So I'm now going to look at this set of the data, this half of the data, and this half of the data. So I'm going to find the median of the first half and the second half. So if I look at it, here's my first half. That's cross one out, cross one out. Here's the median of the first half. This is Q1. Then I'm going to look at my second half. Cross one out, cross one out. Here's my middle of that. So the median of the second half, that is quartile 3. So just to recap that, we have quartile 1 is 12. My median is 15. Quartile 3 was 19. So IQR, interquartile range, we're taking the inner quartiles and we are going to take these parts and we're going to find the range of that. So we're going to subtract Q3 minus Q1. So if we have Q3 is 19 minus Q1 is 12, that will be 7. So my IQR is 7. So we're going to look at some examples. We're going to look at the second one. So the first step you have to do, that is one of the most important, is to put the data in order from least to greatest. Now, as you're doing this, I'm going to suggest crossing it out as you write it, because otherwise it is so easy to forget one. And if you cross it out as you write it, it's going to help you Like if you forget one, you'll go back and see it. So we're going to go ahead and put it in order from least to greatest. If you see a number twice, you do need to write it twice because it's two sets of data or two data points. One thing I like to do is count the number of data points there are in the set and then count mine and make sure that I have the same number. So I see that there's 9, so I'm going to check and make sure I have 9. And I do. So now I'm going to cross one out, cross one out, cross one out, cross one out until I have a middle number. But I can also kind of know if there's 9, that means I am going to have a middle number. There's going to be 4 before and 4 after. But I will kind of cross one out, 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 cross one out. Now what I see is that I'm going to have a middle number. This middle number is 70. That's my median. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write that. What that means is that number is not going to be used in the halves of the data. That's what's splitting it up. So when I look to be able to find Q1 and Q3, this is half of the data right here, and this is half of the data right here. So now I'm going to find the median of that data. So I will cross one out, cross one out. Oh, wait. I've got 2 middle numbers. So what do I do if I have 2 middle numbers? I'm going to find the average of the 2 by adding them and then dividing by 2. So I am going to add, and I'm just going to do this over here where I have room, 50 plus 55 would be 105. Now I need to divide that by 2. So 2 goes into 10 5 times, which is 10. Subtract, I get 0, bring down my 5. That's going to go in there twice, which is 4. Subtract, I get 1. I'm going to add that decimal 0, bring this decimal up, the 0 down, and 2 will go into 10 5 times, which is 10. So that means Q1 is going to be 52 5/10. Now I'm going to need to find Q3. So I'm going to do the same concept here. Cross one out, cross one out, cross one out. Well, it's right here in the middle. Now I've got to find the average of those 2 numbers. You can kind of tell in this case because I'm looking for what's smack dab in the middle of 120 and 130. I can actually probably just figure this out. 125 would be in the middle. But again, I can add the 2 numbers and divide by 2. But so that's 125. So to find the IQR, I'm going to subtract these 2 numbers. So I'm going to do 125 minus 52 5/10. Remember, when adding and subtracting decimals, you have to line up the decimal points. And then I bring the decimal straight down. So now I will do that subtraction. So I'll do the borrowing here. 10 minus 5 is 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then, y'all, we can just do 12 minus 5. We don't have to borrow from the 1 to make that 2 a 12 because it's literally a 12 here. And 12 minus 5 is 7. So that means my IQR, or interquartile range, is 72 5/10. We're going to do another example. This one, oh no, dun dun dun, it has decimals. Oh, it's okay. Same process. So the first thing we're going to do, put it in order from least to greatest. So yes, this is a little bit trickier, but we've got this. So I'm going to start, I've got 45 1/100. . 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 And then I'm going to go ahead and like pause it and go ahead and put this in order. So you pause it, put it in order from least to greatest, and then unpause it when you're done. I would definitely check to see, like, count how many data points there are in the set of data and count how many you have. There should be 10 and 10. Because especially with decimals, it's easier to mess it up. Because it's 10, it's an even number. So when I cross one out, I know that I'm going to end up having two middle numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to lightly cross it out. Cross one out, 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 cross one out. And I'm going to see that it's in the middle. For this, really, you don't even have to find the median if we're just finding the IQR. But just to do it, I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. It's going to be between 5 6/10 and 12 2/10. So if I was going to find the median, I'm going to go ahead and add them. So to add them, I'm going to stack up the numbers, keep the decimals in line, add any needed zeros, and you'll be just fine. So that will be 17 8/10. And then I'm going to divide that by 2 to find the median. So I bring the decimal straight up and then I can just ignore it. 2 goes into 17, 8 times, which is 16, subtract. I'm going to bring that 8 down. 2 goes into 18, 9 times, which is 18. So this is going to be 8 9/10. So I found the median, but I really didn't need that to find my Q1 and Q3. Now here's the important part. Because the median was in the middle, then this number right here, like the two middle numbers, they're part of the half. So when I'm looking for this, that 5 6/10 that was one of those middle numbers is part of the first half, and the 12 2/10 is part of the second half. So now I'm going to find the median of those halves. So cross one out, cross one out, cross one out, cross one out. So here we go. So this is Q1 is 2. And now I'm going to find Q3. So cross one out, cross one out, cross one out, cross one out. And I have one middle number there. That's 15. So Q3 is 15. So to find IQR, I'm going to subtract those. So I'm going to do 15 minus 2, which is 13. So my interquartile range is 13. So now I want you to try the other ones that we did not do and see if you can get those. And then when you're done, unpause it, check it to see if you have it right. So for that first example, the IQR was 76, and the second example, the IQR was 7.